one of the best benefits of the Stromm frame is the fact that it has very long dropouts. And that allows you to have a very long wheelbase, but also a very large amount of room to extend, to use one chain. So you basically put on a very pretty long chain, and it gives you a large gear range. And also the best part of these long dropouts is the fact that it has integrated chain tensioners, which is the point of this video. And the bike has a semi-issue of people having to end up breaking, or I should say bending the chain tensioner. Though it's a long bolt. I don't know the specs. I need to get that from Dave Kessel. But it's a very well-designed chain tensioner. Uses a thumb screw, totally toolless, and it has a scalloped axle retention stop, if you want to call it. And why I just took the axle nut off is what I think a couple of people have messaged me that have this frame and wonder how I avoid bending these chain tensioners. So apparently quite a few people have bent the chain tensioner bolt. And I suspect this is what happened. If you look very, very closely, let's see if I can do this. Oops. You'll see some scoring on the scalloped part on the stop. What I suspect is happening is the width of the scalloped part, the axle stop, is pretty much the exact width of the dropout, which is fine, right? And this is what I got up and got. I can't really take a reading of it. Just out of curiosity, what is that? Yep, 10 millimeters. I suspect this axle stop is about 11 millimeters or 10.5 millimeters. And why I say that is when you have your axle nut tightened, or in the case of a lot of what people are finding they're having a problem with is if they're using a Le Mans trainer and they're doing standing starts or hard effort, they're finding they're bending the axle nuts, the axle chain tensioner axle bolt, because it is thin, but it's thick enough to prevent normal bending. And so what I suspect is happening is because this axle stop is 10.5 millimeters as opposed to the 10 of the dropout, it extends just a hair, just a hair. It might even be 10.2 or something like that. And if you have an axle nut tightened or the quick release tightened on the bike, what's happening is you're basically creating a place for the scalloped axle stop to jam up against. So if you can see here, there's a gap. Look at this. There's a gap right here. And if you don't have this all the way touching the axle, like it is now, if you don't have it touching the axle and then tightening either the axle nut or the quick release on the Le Mans, what's going to happen is this is going to, let's back this out, this axle stop is going to not stop against your axle, but it's going to in fact stop against the axle nut, the washer or whatever you have that's part of your retention mechanism, be it the quick release on the Le Mans or an axle nut here. And I suspect what's happening is when you go and jam on your effort, your wheel slips. And that slippage, depending how far this is, will cause it to just jam up and bend the axle stop, the bolt. axle stop is not going to bend at all. The axle bolt, the chain retention screw is going to bend. And because the thread's so fine, this is not going to want to turn very much at all after that. It'll extend probably after that, but won't retract. And so you know it's bent. And I'm almost certain that's what's happening here. So the way to prevent this is to leave your axle nuts or quick release loose. Make sure the chain tensioner stop is against the axle, and then tighten up all the way. And that should stop it. Now, the permanent solution and the idiot-proof solution is to pull this axle stop out and just file down, like I said, 0.2 millimeters, probably not even 0.5 millimeters off of it. And so it'll always be narrower than the actual dropout. Thanks for watching.